Welcome back to another episode of Board Bitesize. Today we are joined by our Chief Executive, Jim Austin, and our Chair, Julie Holder. We've just finished December's board meeting and stepped outside to reflect on what has been discussed today, in line with our organisational strategy themes of people at the centre, working in partnership, healthy communities, and focus on the future.
Well, I'm here with Julie. It's Jim Austin speaking, and we've just finished our December board. We're going to do the normal format where we're going to go into the four areas that we focus on. I'm going to kick off with the communities piece, where we talked quite a little bit about the winter pressures that we're under at the moment, that it is a very compressed system, and what we're trying to do within the Community Trust to assist that, acknowledging the really hard work that's ongoing at the moment. We also talked a bit around how we are managing the pressure through discharge, and while we've got Dean Wallace leading on that from a system perspective, all the work that our community teams are doing on trying to pull people out from the acutes. So a lot of time spent on that, and also then linked into some of the work that we're doing around absence, and concern that we have seen an increased number of sickness within our teams. And how we're going to work to support people with that, knowing that that can be sometimes an exacerbation of pressure. So that was what we talked about in communities. We talked a little bit about place as well, and just around some of the things we're doing with virtual wards. But we'll probably cover that in some more detail over the next week or two in different channels.
Thanks, Jim. I just wanted to talk about partnership. It's a key part of my chair's report this time, but also later on in the agenda. We were asked to, and I promoted this particular report, to approve the partnership document, terms of reference around the provider collaboration arrangements that we've now got in place, which have been strengthened over the last few weeks. We've always, as a board, held a very system-first approach, and as an organisation worked closely with external partners. The documents that we saw today formalise that position for all providers and how we're going to work together and be able to hold each other to account around that. It does mean that we will always commit to putting the patient first in the collaborative space. And working outside of organisational boundaries. And that means sometimes having some difficult discussions and having to make some difficult decisions. But we agreed that although we support that, we very much support that, there will always be well thought through reports that enable to then go through and approve the detail of any changes. But it's always around actually making sure that we do the right thing for our patients.
Thanks, Julie. Well, I hope you can hear us, because it's absolutely pelting with rain here, and I can hear it drumming on the roof. So I said a little bit of virtual wards just now. We got into a little bit of detail. The way that Derbyshire set up the virtual ward programme within our system has been a lot of what we call step-down activity. And the focus we're going to get into is step up, so trying to hold people safely in their own beds in the community. And I can see a big part for DCHS getting into that, and we examined that a little bit at the board today. I think the other part of the future section that I'm talking about here was around the 10-year engagement cycle that's going on, 10-year plan engagement cycle that Wes Streeting, Secretary of State, has kicked off a couple of months ago now. We submitted on behalf of the Trust a submission on Monday this week that's gone into that plan. And there are still opportunities for individuals. Everyone, please do feel free, get into the website that allows you to give your feedback on what you think the NHS should look like over the next 10 years. And breaking news, we have just been asked as a community trust to provide half a dozen colleagues in February to a national session that they want some specific representation from community trusts. So great privilege to do that, and that's a kind of future focus for us.
So when we think about our fourth theme within our strategy, it is all about people. And today we had a really powerful story and discussion around suicide and suicide prevention, and the programme that's in place for Joined Up Care Derbyshire that's hosted by DCHS on behalf of the system. The board had quite a long discussion around this. It was very difficult to actually bring timing back because it was such a long discussion, which was great. But what we agreed was that we wanted to support our managers to have what are very difficult discussions and conversations around this subject, and also some further work by our health psychologists. I also know that you want to say some specific acknowledgements before I come back and just say a very big thank you.
So I'm just calling out really Mel Dyke and the work she's been doing with the Armed Forces Network, but particularly the Ministry of Defence Employment Recognition Scheme, so retaining gold there. But the person I really wants to call out, there's two people actually. So one is Ferdy Esteban, who has won an award from the Queen's Nursing Institute around the International Community Nurse of the Year. And then we gave a round of applause to Michelle Bateman, who's picked up a professorship, I'm sure that's the wrong term, at the University of Derby. Fantastic for her in the many years she's put into the NHS to be recognised in that way. So I just thought I'd recognise those.
Yeah, no, two great acknowledgements, and there would be lots more as well. So finally, I just want to wrap up by acknowledging the hard work and commitment of everybody that works within DCHS. I'm, as chair, so proud of what we do every single day and how we do this. So many will work over Christmas, but I'd like to say thank you to everybody from us, from Jim and I, and wish you the very best for the festive season.
That's all for today's episode. Board Bitesize will be back after the next public board meeting.